everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from gorgeous Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we've got an anniversary to celebrate.
Yo, boy, I guess...
Is that the right word?
I don't know that
Is that
we'll
the
be...
wrong word?
I think we'll not be celebrating. But we'll be discussing a Waco in Waco. See what I did?
Yeah,
So, yep, you fell for it. That's what happened. Yeah, we'll be. It's the 25th anniversary of the goings down at the Mount Carmel. I want to call it a compound.
It was compoundish.
Yeah.
It was it was very secluded.
Yeah.
And it had a collection of buildings.
The only thing it didn't have was a mount. They call it Mount Carmel.
It's
out
Texas,
there, and they did not have any mount.
the requirements to be a mount. Really, just a slight elevation change.
Right.
Is enough. That's a mountain.
Yeah, you go up 3 feet and somebody gets a nosebleed in Texas.
My God. Oh.
Anywho,
They get tired. They lose their breath.
I can't. That's later in the show.
Yeah, indeed.
We do have today will be a slightly different show than normal, but mostly just
nobody's going to notice, Dan.
Okay.
If you hadn't pointed it out, nobody was going to notice.
No, they're not going to notice.
But something that is the same, Dan.
Yes.
Is how good Harry's razors are.
Oh,
that has stayed the same, Dan.
Now wait a minute. Could you possibly be talking about the online subscription-based facial hair removal company?
Harrys.com?
Harrys.com? Is that what you're discussing with me right now?
It's possible, Dan.
Oh.
You've tried their razors.
Oh, I'm a user of the Harry's business.
Yeah. 5 precision engineered blades.
Yeah.
In their plant in Germany.
Yeah.
They bought a plant in Germany.
They did.
Just to get these blades, Dan.
That's right.
I don't know where the little protective cover is from, but they have that and the ergonomic handle.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
The shave gel.
Shave gel.
Which
amazing.
is lovely.
We love it all.
You get all of those things if you just, and you get it for free. You get a whole kit with all the things for free.
Right.
If you just go to harrys.com/TGIA, that's for Thank God I'm Atheist, for those of you who aren't good at acronyms. And you just to harrys.com/TGIA, you ask for it, you pay just a tiny bit for shipping.
Right.
They send you the whole thing. It's worth like it's worth like $12 or something like that. You try it out. And then if you love it, it just keeps coming to you, and you will love it. That's the thing. It's great, and it's way cheaper than your grocery store.
Oh my God,
no
kidding. No kidding.
And you keep your face nice and neat,
which you should do.
Gentlemen, please look good, will you?
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody likes your
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 neck beard.
Yeah. No.
Nobody needs your neck beard in this world. Clean up those necks, fellas, or clean up the whole face.
Do whatever level of face cleaning up you want to do.
Harry's is going to work.
Yeah.
It's the stuff.
Think about Harry's.
It's the stuff for you.
All right. Dan.
Yeah.
Got a story for you.
What?
Actually, it's a bit of a follow-up. Do you recall a story that I talked about a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, in fact, about a D.C. city councilman who opened his mouth about... he had a conspiracy theory about the Rothschilds and controlling the weather.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole thing kind of, it's gotten away from him a little bit.
Well,
he says he didn't mean it quite the way that it came out. And I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But now we have another story.
How did he mean it when you say the Jews control the weather? I mean, when you say the Rothschilds are controlling the weather.
The thing that where we sort of left it last time, Dan, is that
when we last left our story
was that while it was hard to say that for sure he was anti-Semitic.
Right.
He was definitely being an idiot.
He was being a moron. That's right.
Well, I think this follow-up story may just help clarify everything.
Oh, good.
He was on a special tour at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that's a bad place for him to be.
Well, it was like
This is his
special guided tour by Rabbi Batya Glazer.
This is him sort of showing how not anti-Semitic he is,
and truly trying to not anti-Semitic he is, but like how that he's trying to educate himself.
Right. Okay. Right.
I think that's in large part what this was about.
Right. When you really, really fuck up and you offend a group of people, you got to do some sort of
you got to do some stuff
thing.
And so
he's doing the thing.
This Rabbi Glazer of the Jewish Community Relations Council she was heavily involved in this, in kind of helping this guy through this process, this public image rehabilitation thing, right?
And this is a lady rabbi?
From the sound of it, yeah.
Wow.
So they're standing in front of a photo in one of the displays from 1935.
Oh, I think I'm really going to like how this story goes.
In the photo is a woman she's walking down a street in northern Germany.
Okay.
And a large sign hangs around her neck, says, "I am a German girl and allowed myself to be defiled by a Jew."
Oh my God.
And then there are Nazi stormtroopers all around her.
Okay.
And so this council member, his name is Trayan White. He's sitting there, he's looking at the image, and he says, "Are they protecting her?" And one of the sort of people from the museum who was there on, guiding the tour, says, "No, they're marching her through."
Right. They're the ones that are ringing the bell and saying shame at her.
Right.
Ding, ding.
And he goes,
"Shame.
Marching through is protecting." And
no.
Williams replies, "I think they're humiliating her."
Yeah.
So the the tour continues.
Oh my God.
Let's see. Let's get to some of the
like,
other
are
stuff.
they protecting her? Is educate me about what's happening here. But like, then to continue with like, oh my God. Okay. Keep going.
And somehow there was also instances of him. So there he sort of misunderstood the
all
context and
sure,
everything.
Sure.
Here's one where he just kind of misses the point.
He wasn't realizing that she wasn't wearing the sign as a point of pride, but rather had been made to wear a sign.
Right. She wasn't marching
through.
She was being marched through. Yeah. Anyway, so there was also a photo of some German troops executing Catholic clergy by firing squad. And he asks, were they actually manufacturing these weapons? I don't even understand it. Like, I don't even understand what he could have thought was happening, right? But he definitely misses the point of what was going on.
Yes. He's clearly there to learn, just not there to learn any of the right things.
Right. His 90-minute tour got cut short. Because he just disappeared about 45 minutes into it.
What?
He left his office staff who had joined in there on the tour.
Did he?
Because they were also looking for an educational
fake a phone call, or what the fuck did he do?
We'll get to that, Dan.
Okay.
So 7 of his staff members, which just surprises me that his staff is so large, being a city council member.
Yeah,
right? But nonetheless, seven of White's staff stayed with the guide, and they moved on to an exhibit on the Warsaw Ghetto.
Okay, yeah.
And as she explained, as the tour guide was explaining sort of the walling in of the Polish Jews, one of his staff members asks whether it was similar to a gated community.
Oh, sweet Jesus mercy.
Upon which,
oh my goodness,
Rabbi Glazer says, "Yeah, I wouldn't call it a gated community. More like a prison."
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the degree to which a person can be ignorant can sometimes be just impressive.
It's really amazing. This is really, really amazing.
I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed. That's just amazing.
Anyway, they end up finding Councilman White out on the sidewalk outside of the museum. Even though his excuse was that he had to get up, move on to something else in his schedule. He was on the sidewalk for the duration of his staff's visit.
The rest of their tour. Okay.
And he says, I'll be coming back to see more of the museum. I didn't get a chance to see the whole thing, but I think it's a lot of education here, a lot of synergy here between what's happened to the Jewish community and the African community.
Synergy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. This opportunity has given me the chance to meet a lot of great Jews, a lot of people, a lot of good Jews that I've never had the chance to meet before. It's an awesome experience, he says. He's also he went to a Passover Seder. He went to Bagels and Lox breakfast that was held with Jewish leaders. City Hall. He's been doing all this. He's kind of been doing the right things, right?
Except that then he just undercuts it completely.
Yeah, and evidently an unwilling participant in his own education about the topic.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I'm sorry, but that I've gotten this opportunity to meet all of these great Jews doesn't really ring I'm really excited about what's going on. Kind of feels a lot more like, well, what's the political way of saying, please no more Jews?
Oh, God. Anyway, so that's going on in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital.
Our nation's capital, the brilliant people running that business.
Well, here's a story, Dan, though, that will not... It's not going to surprise you.
Okay.
It's one of those that it's just confirmation of something that we already knew.
I'm safe to take a sip of water. I'm not going to do a spit take.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But that now has research to sort of support and confirm what we already knew about links between religiosity and suicide amongst youth.
Okay.
I don't think this would have been a hard stretch for anybody to make that claim. I know
you committed suicide when you were religious.
Oh yeah, of course I did. Okay, so this study that was conducted at West Virginia University's Injury Control Center. I believe that's where it was done. Yes. The director of the study said that for decades, studies have indicated that religion generally protects people against thoughts of suicide. Oh, this is when I did that documentary, 2 years ago or whatever. That was one of the things that I sort of came across. But the research has also shown that religion significantly doesn't have an impact on those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or questioning.
Doesn't have an impact?
Does not.
On their suicide?
Does not protect them.
Right. It has an impact.
Right.
It just doesn't protect.
But it doesn't have the protection impact is not there.
Right.
For members of that community.
Right.
So they're sort of shielded from that impact by their sexuality, I suppose. I actually wish that weren't the case.
Sure.
But here we go with some numbers.
Okay.
And this is actually really fascinating because I figured, well, let's just go through the numbers real quick.
Okay.
So those that are questioning had the highest rate of recent thoughts about suicide at 16.4%.
Huh.
Followed by bisexual teens at 11.4%, and lesbian or gay kids at 6.5%.
Those numbers really surprise me.
Isn't that fascinating?
Because
it's but it makes sense. Think about it. The questioning kids are the ones who are in the turmoil of their religious upbringing, getting into the mix. And I guess we should also clarify that we're talking about homophobic religious groups.
Yeah,
right?
this isn't going to happen like at the Unitarian Church.
No, those kids are probably just fine.
Those kids are overly coddled. Like those kids start to feel bad if they're not LGBTQ.
Right. So, but the questioning puts them at very high risk.
And the bisexual thing being higher than gay or lesbian really surprises me too, because they can pass.
Yeah, but my guess is maybe there hasn't been as much work done on our sort of culturally, socially, on the topic of bisexual. It's still something that people in the gay community still say doesn't really exist.
Yeah, neither the gay nor the straight community has done very good work for
accepting
the bisexual
kids. And here they are, and it in some ways it probably plays out a lot like questioning. They don't even fully understand that they're bisexual. They just know they have these, queer attractions.
Right. They have feelings and of love and lust toward the people that they're absolutely not supposed to.
Right.
As well as the people that they are supposed to.
Right.
And suddenly it's just
and that would be quite confusing, especially for some kids, Yep. So here's some numbers about the broader community. 5% of heterosexual youth reported attempting suicide in their lifetime, compared to 20% of bisexual youth, 17% of questioning youth, and 14% of gay or lesbian youth. So that one, the numbers get moved around a little bit. But that's actual attempt, not suicide ideation, which was what that other number was about.
Right.
So how does this play out locally, Dan? With our local homophobic religion?
Dead gay kids? Is that how this plays out?
Yeah. Actually, in Utah, there was a spike. There's been a spike in teen suicides recently.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are actually pointing directly at some policy changes at the LDS Church.
Yeah.
Because there was actually legitimately within like the weeks that followed the policy about, this was the one specifically about children of gay parents, right? Not being eligible for baptism until they're adults.
Right. Basically, the message was just, if your parents are gay, we don't even think you are valid until you reject them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so...
and you have to be old enough, you have to be an adult.
In order to reject
in order to even reject your parents.
Right. And so, that's nice of them to acknowledge at least the
we all know
parental role should be protected until adulthood.
Well, we all know that a 14-year-old's going to reject their parents no matter what. So an 18-year-old, then
you can just trust it.
Yeah, then it's real.
It's not rebellion.
Right.
No more. But yeah, right after that announcement, there was a very significant spike, and apparently it's continued. Like the numbers right now are alarming and really disturbing. So that's religion and suicide.
Yeah.
Dan.
Hooray. Well, what a fun topic that was.
Aren't you glad?
I'm so glad.
Well, we did a sandwich, Dan.
Yeah, you got to do the misery sandwich.
Yeah.
You do something fun on the top
with some fun bread on the ends.
Fun bread.
Yeah.
For your misery sandwich, that's what you want that on.
All right, and then the final story, Dan, today. A story about Scientology.
Okay.
And a website that you probably haven't heard of. I hadn't heard of it. Neopets. Have you ever heard of this? It's a children's. It's one of those like you have your little virtual pet and you have to keep it alive.
Okay, sure.
Things, right? And kids could go there and they could play with their pet and feed their pet, give their pet treats, do activities with their pets.
It's a game that's about you have to be responsible.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's supposed to be fun.
Sure.
And there are things that you can buy for your pets, accessories. They have
I can see
you can actually use real hard cash to like buy, or you could earn points through some associated game.
Sure. I can see little Frank being super into that.
No. I saw the graphics. It wasn't for me.
Okay.
Also, Dan, do you remember that I mentioned Scientology?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah, so apparently the founder well, I guess he's a former, he actually was not a founder. He was a former Neopet CEO, and he was a big-time investor.
Okay.
Doug Doring, a Scientologist.
Okay.
And during his time at Neopets, he used the org board method, which is something that's taught by Scientology for leadership. This was designed by L. Ron Hubbard.
Sure.
It's based on 7 principles: communication, dissemination, treasury, production, qualifications, public, and the most important of them, executive.
Okay.
Right? So this is L. Ron Hubbard's idea of how you run.
He's revolutionizing everything. Nobody's ever come up with any of those concepts before.
No, never. Well, according to Patricia Illingsworth, she's a professor at Northeastern University.
Okay.
And also a senior fellow at the Kennedy School of Government's Carr Center for Human Rights at Harvard. She says that the model is less ethical than it might appear.
Okay.
She noted that a department in the communications division, the Department of Inspections and Reports, essentially spied on other employees at the company.
Yeah, the second you said inspections and reports, a lot of like fascist flags started going up.
So they spied and then reported back pertinent information to the top executives. The Department of Inspections and Reports section on ethics is really about a very primitive sense of justice, an eye for an eye, getting back at people who have in some sense harmed the organization.
Oh my God. Wow.
If someone in or outside the organization has done something that undercuts the mission of the organization, which is basically making money, then the organization in the name of ethics is advised to retaliate against the person in order to ensure that they don't do it.
Wow, I don't see how that relates to Scientology.
Doesn't sound like Scientology at all.
That's very strange. No,
I wonder where they got these ideas.
Right?
Surely they've twisted something. This could not possibly.
I mean, it's very clear that a Scientologist might be very comfortable with these techniques.
So, do back up a little bit. Founding of the company. At one point in time, there was a hire who came in and who wanted to bring Scientology onto the site. This woman was a Scientologist.
Okay.
She wanted to bring some Scientology principles into sort of this kid's game.
Yeah.
And
that's what you want.
Basically, the 2 co-creators of the site fought as hard as they could and got rid of her.
Okay.
Like they saw this, it was no, right?
Yeah.
But they ended up with a Scientologist as the CEO later on, right? And so at one point in time, so at one point in time, they ended up sort of looking, after they'd sold the company, they looked back and they Googled the new employees that were being brought on and discovered that they were all Scientologists. So somehow Scientology just must have been targeting this company. They wanted to run this kid's game. It was one of the most popular games on the internet, apparently, for kids.
You know, it's one of those things where, do you want your dog to have the cute little hat? That's cool. You can either pay $5 or do this e-meter. And then we'll do an audit for you for free.
So basically, it was one of the biggest entertainment sites on the internet, visited by millions of children and teens. And they started, I guess they kind of fucked around with the site a bit. And then the site ended up being sold to Viacom in 2005. And since then, it's been cleaned up. But there was a huge reaction online because a lot of, people had played this game as a kid.
Yeah.
And are now because it was really popular in the early 2000s.
Sure.
And so a lot of these people are adults. They're, working...
out in the world,
and they're looking back at this and they're going, what the fuck, this was my favorite thing, and now wait, did I learn Scientology?
Was it? Yeah.
Was I being indoctrinated?
Was I? you were. And also, not for nothing, but in the when you go to the website to play with your little puppy and you click on the terms and conditions, you have signed a billion-year contract. That's just a fact. Oh, my God. Well, there you go. Keep your kids safe out there, ladies and germs.
Yeah.
If you have anything you'd like to tell us about any of the stories that you've heard today, you can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
And while you're on Facebook, you might as well search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we'll let you in.
We just let you in. Yeah. It's just a thing we do.
Easy as that. Dan.
Yeah.
It's time to listen in on some crackpots.
This is some good stuff. You know, and there was a very unfortunate incident a few weeks ago where a van drove off a cliff in California. A family inside.
Right.
With 2 lesbian mothers.
Yeah, it happens.
And if that happens, then of course all of gaydom is unfit to parent.
Of course.
So now we're going to hear.
That's how that works.
That's how that works. And
one member of a group represents
all the members.
Whole group. Yeah. All right. Well, let's hear from Jesse Lee Peterson.
He's a voice that we need more of, just because I still can't understand how they gave this voice a radio show.
I don't know why anyone would trust children with lesbians and homosexuals who call themselves to be married, because they are very violent toward each other. And especially the so-called lesbian couples. I hear and read, and so many people testified that lesbians are really violent in their relationships. They are scrambling to find more information after this break, and then your phone calls. We got to bring things back to normal, folks. We've allowed this to go too far. You know what I mean? Enough is enough. These people are not mentally capable of handling the stress of raising children, because the situation itself is not normal. 2 women together as husband and wife is not a normal situation. So how in the world will they be able to handle the stress of raising children? God is not with them. Satan is their father. I want my country back.
He wants his country back. Yeah.
He wants something back. I don't know what he wants back. I think he should want his a free-flowing nasal passage back. Sounds
I just want to know,
to me.
like, he clearly misunderstands homosexuality and queer relationships in general. Two women together are not trying to be husband and wife.
Some of them might be. Depends on if it's role play night. I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. Yeah, he doesn't know how. I mean,
that's not what's going on.
No, it's just a couple
you don't
wives.
Have to have the masculine figure and the feminine figure.
No,
I know that's how a lot of people try to
cast it.
Which one's the man?
Yeah, who wears the pants in the family?
Doesn't. Not required.
We just both like each other and have a nice relationship and raise some children. How about that? But they can't raise children. They're not mentally competent.
Oh, nor do they have the ability to handle the stress.
No, not at all. Because if there's one thing we know about the gay community, they are stress-free. They've never experienced stress in their life. So when it hits them, they don't know what to do.
I would say some of us are probably addicted to stress, and drama.
Well, there is that. That exists in the straight community too.
It's true. I feel like the gay community likes to turn it up. Just
Likes to take it to that whole nother level.
drama.
I mean, I've seen RuPaul's Drag Race. You're not lying. You're not wrong. I've seen that show.
I love that show. Are you kidding me?
They are into the drama.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
I want to see an episode of that where everybody just like the whole goal is just to be calm and relax and just and supportive of each other.
I want to hear RuPaul's clever name for whatever that would be.
Right? Yeah.
A room of relaxed drag queens.
I think even RuPaul might come up short on that one. Just have nothing to say. What are you saying, Ru? This is
everybody okay?
fine.
Is there some kind of like gas leak? What's going on?
Oh, that would be delightful. We got some email that I'll read out. Hey, Dan and Frank, this says Dank and Frank.
Yeah,
okay, sure. I'm pretty dank.
Dank and Frank
in the sense of moisture. I'm not sure.
Sweet.
I think it's just Dan and Frank that
Dank and Fran.
Dank and Fran. Boom. I'll try to keep it short. Let's see. Yesterday, I see a post from my Facebook friend. Quote, I'm still looking for work. Not having insurance is killing me. I can't afford my medication, so my diabetes is out of control, and my depression is so bad that I've seriously considered suicide. Getting rejected from prospective jobs isn't helping either.
Oh my God.
This is a Mormon friend of Jeremy's in Provo.
Oh, wow.
From what I've heard about the Mormons on various podcasts, I had the idea that you pay your 10% every month, no matter what, but when the shit goes down, the church is there to cushion your fall. Uncontrolled diabetes and suicidal ideation is not my idea of a good set of circumstances.
No.
But one that a bit of sweet church money could help. So why aren't they? Does he just need to ask? Is there some stigma against doing so? He's Jeremy's from Europe. He says I could probably get him insulin way cheaper over here. Yay, socialism! But there's no way in hell I can get it to Provo. Signed, frustrated and powerless in the nether regions. From Jeremy.
Yeah. Mormon Church and the church welfare program. It's
pretty good.
It's good. And you do have to ask for it.
There is a decent shot that if this guy asked his church for help, they definitely help him with the medical stuff.
Yeah.
The depression is medical stuff, but some Mormons have stigma things about mental health.
Right.
But there's LDS social services. There's a whole in Utah, there's a whole group of LDS therapists that they could get you to.
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. Rough stuff. That's shitty. I mean, I know the church by and large is still, doing pretty good. Yeah. But I recently heard, and this is a little bit of a tangent, that and if anybody actually knows about this, I'd love to have some information on it.
Right.
But I've heard that they've stopped hiring custodial staff and grounds people for the chapels. That's now callings.
Huh.
They're now calling people to come and take care of the chapel.
Yeah.
To do the vacuuming and cleaning the bathrooms.
We're talking about a $1 billion organization that has slave labor. Why wouldn't they do it? They can.
I know, but
they're allowed to do it.
But but they used to pay money to do it, and now they're like any good business, they're finding ways to, increase profits and decrease the amount of expenditures.
Right.
And they are, and they've done that, but that's such a penny pinching move.
Yeah.
Penny pinching move that I just wonder if the numbers aren't quite what they used to be somehow. That if somehow
monetary
they've-
numbers,
yeah, that maybe or
I'm
maybe
sure
they've-
the tithing numbers aren't what they used to be.
maybe they've, because of their this obsession with building temples where they're not traditionally needed, right, and this huge expansion with facilities that they haven't maybe found themselves in kind of a tight spot, and maybe it's extending to church welfare. Who knows?
I think they're just saving up for their theme park. Mormon World.
Mormie land.
You can't. Trust me. You are going to love the Moroni ride. It is fun.
Just the other night,
there's the Leahona ride. There's the submarines thing. You get in the wooden submarines.
Yeah. Well, there's the First Vision, the experience, right? And you go into it, and you're playing the role of Joseph Smith.
It's a
you
sacred
walk into
grove.
the grove,
Sure.
and they have sort of that low frequency rumble to create that sense of dread.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, like, it feels like there's this menacing, demonic presence.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then there you have a pillar of light and a couple actors lowered down from the ceiling, right?
Behold, this is my son. And you're in a group of like 40 people who are all kneeling together.
No, it's like getting your magic wand at Harry Potter World or whatever.
Oh, so there's a group of 40, but one person gets to be the selected kneeler.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it would be amazing.
Yeah, this needs to happen. Where is the Mormon Ken Ham when you need him? Because this could happen. Because the Mormons could make this shit go. I mean...
Joseph Smith, the experience.
The experience. It sounds great. Yeah. I don't know what to tell Jeremy other than as far as I know, if he went to his bishop. I mean, the other thing is the bishops have control over this, like the parish leader.
Yeah.
And some bishops are dicks.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's just in a ward with a dick bishop that doesn't want to help him out.
Yeah.
Who knows? All I know, I will say this. When I worked in a cell phone company, there were people every now and then who'd come in with a check from their church to pay their cell phone bill.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's crazy.
Got one more. The subject line of this email that we got was, in all caps, "I love you, Frank!"
Yeah?
This is from Don.
All right, Don.
Who's referring to I think
Hi, Don.
our most recent episode. He says, "As a mathematician and Star Trek fan, I appreciate both your calling out of, quote, rounding a remainder as not being a real thing, and your reference to SETI Alpha 5.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I can pull the Star Trek stuff out.
Signed, someone who's very nerdy."
Is that what it says?
No, it's signed Don, but he's as nerdy as you are, so...
Rude.
Why is that rude? It's just real.
Well, thanks, Don.
Yeah.
That's great. That made my day.
Yeah, there you go. Sometimes people like me, too. No.
Oh, don't start that one, Dan.
Probably not. It's okay. Nobody loves me. It's fine.
Oh, Dan. Oh, Dan.
Oh, well, thank you guys for writing in. Do we have some folks to thank?
We have a lot of people to thank. A lot of people that we've already thanked. We don't have any new patrons this week.
Oh, okay.
But why don't we just take a minute to just thank all of our current patrons. Thank you guys.
It's what keeps the wheels turning over here. And you know, those people who have decided that they can part with a little bit of their money per episode just to keep us going. They also receive an ad-free version of the show. They're on Patreon. And they have access to bonus content. Some of them have access to bonus content that we do.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a way of supporting us, keeping this thing going. You know, we have some goals that we're not quite getting to, so
yeah,
a little bit. You know, hopefully we'll find some people to some more people to help us out. But we can't express enough how grateful we are for those who are our patrons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially
our top donor, our Lord and Savior. She reigns supreme. Angela!
Forever may she wave.
Amen?
In the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen. 。
Dan,
Uh-huh.
so about 25 years ago, there was a young man who was doubting the veracity of all the churches. And he went out into a sacred grove.
I don't think you know this story.
What?
I think you're telling it wrong.
No. This is the story of one Mr. What was his name?
Vernon. What was
Vernon
it?
Hardcastle.
No, Vernon Wayne Howell.
What?
Is the person that we're talking about. Vernon Wayne Howell, born in 1959, later renamed himself David Koresh.
Ooh, I know that name.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be confused about that name.
No. So for those of our listeners who are younger, may not recall 1993, or for those who maybe were in a different country, a foreign land to us.
Oh, yeah.
You may not know the name David Koresh, but David Koresh was the leader of what some would call a cult, an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventist movement, the Branch Davidians, he called them. Or they
After himself, right?
No. No, actually, and these guys were around before he was.
No.
He did not start this group.
Wow. Did he name himself David after the Davidian?
After King David, for whom the Branch Davidians are named.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the Branch Davidians were started in the early 20th century, actually.
Really?
Yeah. By a guy. I don't have that thing pulled up right here. Anyway,
but it's older than I thought it was.
much older. Yeah. So yeah, this fellow started it, and then another couple took over. So this was all sort of like I said, an offshoot of Seventh-day Adventists. And by the time David Koresh came around, they had just had their sort of second. A couple had kind of taken over for the first guy. This was a couple by the name of Ben and Lois Roden, who had been doing it for many years. Koresh came into it as Vernon Howell, and he basically at least one former member of the group claimed that he had an affair with Lois Roden.
Oh boy.
Her husband had died.
Sexual improprieties?
She was a widow, and was the then prophetess of the group.
Was it not improper for them to have sex? She commanded it so.
No, he was doing it.
Oh.
Which is interesting. He was like 23, 24 at the time. She was 65.
Oh, that's an age gap.
Yeah, and she's not a handsome woman. She's not.
Just so she was very pretty.
She's not a good-looking person. He was doing this, I think, if he was doing it, to gain access to leadership in this church group, and he did. He started to take over. He declared that he was going to try and have a baby with her, a divine child with her, which is pretty funny because she was 65.
Yeah,
he wasn't good at biology, apparently.
He might as well claimed he was going to carry it.
Yeah, he said he claimed that God had chosen him to father a child with her, who would be the chosen one. Yeah, that didn't work out.
It's worth a shot, though, Dan. You know?
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be too get too much into the weeds on the history of this group, but like Lois's son with her husband, a man named George Roden, had intended to be the next leader of this group and kind of pushed Koresh out.
Okay.
And Koresh started a congregation in a dilapidated series of buses in Palestine, Texas, like 90 miles away.
Okay. Wow.
Which, so like it's very interesting. He had like 25 followers. He built up his following stronger and stronger. And eventually, and this is where this gets wackadoo.
Mm-hmm.
He gets into this whole like, I'm the sacred guy. No, I'm the sacred guy. This standoff, this feud with this Roden guy, and like Roden like challenges him to like a miracle off, to the point where they're going to be raising the dead together. Like each of them is going to try to raise the dead, and Roden actually goes to the extent of, at least he's accused of having gone to the extent of exhuming a body to raise it from the dead.
Did he really think he was going to be able to do this?
I don't know.
Did he just get himself so backed into a corner that he just had no other way out except to actually literally dig up a buried body?
The world's stupidest game of chicken ever. Like,
but neither blinks.
Neither of them's flinching. So he exhumes a body. Koresh then goes to the cops and goes, haha, he's molesting bodies. He's
well
illegally
played, actually.
But the cops say, well, you need evidence. You need proof.
And since the body had come back to life, there was no evidence? Is that what I'm picking up on?
No, they just needed like photograph or something.
Oh.
So Koresh gets a bunch of his followers. They arm themselves and they sneak onto the Mount Carmel compound in Waco, Texas.
Right.
And they're getting ready. They're fixing to find this evidence to take some photographs. And pew, 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 a whole standoff ensues with guns ablazing.
What?
People get shot. It's kind of insane.
And this is the whole thing. This is what Janet Reno was pissed off about.
No, we're nowhere near that yet. I'm giving you background. Eventually, George Roden, he fends them off. The Koresh and his crew go to trial. Somehow his crew gets acquitted. He gets a mistrial. Because they're saying that they were just going for evidence, and then the other guys shot at them. I mean, you're trespassing in Texas. I think you're supposed to shoot at people in that. Anyway, eventually, Roden goes to jail for killing another guy with an axe who claimed that he was the Messiah. So like,
no, you're not.
Messianic delusions abound in this story. Just, I'm the Messiah. No, I'm the Messiah. No, I'm the Messiah. And literally, okay, well, then I kill you with an axe. And then he goes to jail. At which point, Koresh just waltzes in and takes over. He's got more supporters than Roden had at that point anyway.
Oh, my goodness.
So he waltzes in, takes over. He ends up paying the back taxes that were owed on the property. So there was a lien on the property anyway. So like he kind of ends up through that owning the property.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well done. Well played.
I mean, violently played and very, very strange. But this is the nuttiness that is the backdrop for what's about to happen.
Oh my God. Okay.
So fast forward to 1993, when Koresh has been head of this group for a hot minute. He's been head, and he's been preaching. He's been recording some rock and roll songs, which you can find on the internet if you want to. You can also find some videos of his preaching. It's not good. And they're sitting, the congregation, I have to say, I saw this video. They have built some ramshackle risers.
Okay.
That people are sitting on. They are not sitting on chairs on the risers. They are sitting on the risers. So everybody's it's like a variant of sitting on the floor. It doesn't look comfortable at all.
Lots of shifting of body weight.
And there's
around.
a lot of call and response between him and his congregants.
Oh, yeah.
And his congregants are dead-faced. They are bored out of their minds, but they're doing it. I don't know what the appeal could possibly be on this.
Once once you joined a cult, you know,
You're just in it.
sometimes, yeah, you know, you're kind of in this dead end cult that, and that wasn't actually a pun. What are you going to do? You might as well just see it out.
Well, yeah,
Because
I guess
what
so.
else? I mean, seriously, like, presumably you've probably quit your job and you're just living on this compound, living in peace and harmony, listening to the preachings of David Koresh
Right.
and maybe doing some light farming. You know what I mean?
I was
Like,
surprised to see at least one African-American face in the group.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Anywho, the ATF gets wind of these guys might be hoarding illegal firearms.
Wait.
So
I didn't think there were illegal firearms in this country.
you'd think. I mean, it's Texas, right? You can have a bazooka that shoots a flamethrower if you want.
I want to see that weapon.
Right? Sounds good.
Yeah.
Somebody make that. Don't make that. Anyway, so there's this. So they get the word that there may be an enormous amount of firearms in this compound.
Okay.
So the ATF decides to go in.
Okay.
They're going to do a raid. They get a warrant. They go in, guns a-blazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you go in guns a-blazing to a place where you know they have a cache of weaponry, guns are going to be a-blazing on both sides, and people die. So I got different figures from different places. At least 4 ATF officers died.
Okay.
Several injured, and at least 5 Branch Davidian members of the cult died.
Oh my God.
And then it's a standoff. So
Wow. And how long did this standoff last? Dan?
Well,
I mean,
it
it seems like
the siege began on the 28th of February in
Okay.
93 and lasted for the next 51 days
God.
until
What?
until April.
I remember it being something, but that's a lot.
It's a lot.
They had enough food. Like how were
They were bringing
children?
them. They were bringing them food. There were men, women, and children. How many were there? There were a lot of people in that compound. I think there were 70 some odd people in the compound.
So they were just ordering out like some Pizza Hut.
They were just bringing in food for them. Yeah.
So the ATF is supplying them with food during a standoff.
Well, the FBI decides to take over the standoff.
Okay.
The ATF kind of backs off because that ain't their gig.
But is that what we do? Is that what law enforcement typically does? They supply.
Yeah, I mean, in a standoff situation where they're trying to
And where there's children?
Yeah, I
Are there
mean,
innocents involved?
I think the thing with the stupid Bundy boys up in Oregon recently, they were bringing them food.
Really?
I think so. I mean, what they don't want is to kill anybody.
Right. Right.
They don't want the death and destruction because that's bad.
Right.
So they tried a bunch of different things. They tried negotiating. They did 60 hours of negotiation with Koresh to try and access the site.
Oh my God.
They would play the super loud music 24/7
yeah.
to try and like make them sleep deprived and whatever.
Well, it's just some good psychological. They did that with Noriega, right? He loved classical music, so they played like some hard rock.
Yeah.
Outside the
Who was
embassy
was
that
it
he was
Kiss,
holed up
or
in?
It was something terrible.
the palace he was holed up in.
Yeah. Apparently, all told, if you tally up how many people were there. Now, I'm going to read from Malcolm Gladwell writing from the New Yorker, who said, "The FBI assembled what has been called probably the largest military force ever gathered against a civilian suspect in American history. 10 Bradley tanks, 2 Abrams tanks, 4 combat engineering vehicles, 668 agents, in addition to 6 U.S. Customs officers, 15 U.S. Army personnel, 13 members of the Texas National Guard, 31 Texas Rangers, 131 officers from the Texas Department of Public Safety, 17 from the McClellan County Sheriff's Office and 18 Waco police for a total of 899 people.
My God.
I don't know if they were all there at the same time.
What?
I mean, we got 51 days to get all these people involved in this thing. But nevertheless, a little heavy.
Yeah.
They went in a little heavy.
Yeah. It's almost like, what did they expect to happen?
Well, yeah,
Don't people tend to defend themselves even when the odds are stacked against them? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, there were a total, I'm not finding it. There were a total of 85 people trapped inside the compound. Finally, Janet Reno, who was
Bill Clinton's attorney general.
Bill Clinton's attorney general decides to give the okay for the FBI to do a raid. And so they bust open a wall with one of the tanks.
Okay.
And start spraying in tear gas to flush them out.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, and we don't know what the story is on this. Accusations fly on both sides.
Okay.
A fire starts.
Gotcha.
And that's when the whole joint burns down, killing 76 of the 85 people inside.
Holy crap. And there were a bunch of kids.
Bunch of kids. Yep. It was everybody. So, yeah, there you go. Now this became a rallying cry for members of the sort of anti-government extreme right.
This is one of the claims of Timothy McVeigh in the Oklahoma City federal building bombing.
That's right. He was trying to take down the federal government because their overreach was crazy and blah blah blah. Maybe not the best way to deal with that issue.
No.
But yeah, I mean, so, and they still use it to this day. They still talk about Waco as being about a story about government overreach.
Yeah.
Whereas the story at the time was much more, this is a story about crazy cults and what they'll do.
Seems like that's what it really is.
Well,
now, I do think there might have been an overreaction.
I feel like it can be both. I feel like, here's the thing. Yes, it was a crazy cult, and there were later, we found out that there was sexual misconduct and molestation of children and all sorts of shit happening.
Right.
It was not a safe place, and it was not and it was not okay. But they didn't go in for that. That's not what they knew.
Right.
They went in because of the guns. And, and I think that they escalated the standoff. The government escalated the standoff because they thought, this is a cult. We need to get the people out. They treated it as a hostage situation, which is interesting because those people were there ostensibly of their own volition.
Right.
Now, who knows how many of those people would have left if they had been given a chance,
had an opportunity. Yeah.
But we don't know. We can't know that. But I do think that this is one of those moments where, I mean, I've read several people talk about how the word cult, just applying the word cult to it, gave the government a different view of how they should handle the situation. And I think that's a very interesting perspective. I think it was a cult, depending on how you want to define that word. But that's a word that now that I think this demonstrates how dangerous that word can be. Because if they had just seen this as a firearms standoff, if this had been like a drug lord with a bunch of firearms or something like that, they would have handled it very differently. But they had families in there. They had, so, I mean, they had to handle it.
It feels
they
like
were between a rock and a hard place in terms of handling this thing.
Right.
It's not a good position to be in if you're in law enforcement.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I would want to know sort of what the prevailing thought had been about these kind of standoffs prior to this event. Like, were they just making up a whole new playbook as they went?
Yeah,
this was
totally new.
So that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's harder in light of that to completely damn, the FBI or the federal government because people made mistakes. If they weren't following like the normal protocol, those people need to be held responsible, and those people need to explain their thinking and why did you do it this way, and potentially have, some serious consequences for those people.
Right. But also there needs to be
an example of government overreach. I think you need to have more than one example to kind of make that claim, because they've clearly adjusted how they handle this kind of thing.
Well, to the point where those Bundys in fucking Oregon got off basically scot-free. One guy died.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, like, they couldn't even make charges stick on those guys.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
That is insanity.
The pendulum has swung way too far in the other direction.
Well, nobody wants a Waco.
Nobody wants a Waco.
Yeah.
This is where we're at, where, armed guys, presumably only white guys,
right,
are kind of allowed to, attack the federal government. And as long as they're not shooting at cops or whatever, they're kind of going to get away with it. It's crazy.
I don't know. I have a lot to think about.
Yeah. Well,
that's not what I was expecting.
Right? Right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. This is a complicated issue. You and I went to this compound.
Yeah.
4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We went on our road trip through the South, and this was one of the places that we stopped.
Yeah. It was kind of, it was a little bizarre.
It was very bizarre.
I remember feeling a little nervous as we approached the gates, right? Yeah. And just being a little weirded out. But once we got out there,
we just drove in.
The couple people that we talked to were friendly enough.
Yeah, we talked to the guy who's now the head of it, who's I think it's called something to do with a stick.
Right. But we talked to him and actually filmed a little thing with him that we ended up not really using for anything.
Yeah. I mean, Shepherd's Rod, I think it might be what it's called. No.
Oh, okay.
It was called that before, because the branch off of the Seventh-day Adventists was called the Davidians or Shepherd's Rod.
Oh, okay.
And then they became the Branch Davidians.
Okay. Right. Well, nonetheless, there was a little chapel there. I remember there was a sort of an impression in the ground where like a buried school bus had been.
That they used as like a fallout shelter or whatever.
A bunker. Yeah.
But the big giant building that was the center of this standoff just isn't there anymore.
Gone. Yeah, well, it burned.
It burned down. So, and they had some gardens that, like vegetable gardens that they had planted, and had an empty swimming pool and stuff.
Yeah, very, very bizarre.
It's just a weird, it's a weird thing in our nation's history, and it's food for thought about how secular our secular government and how secular society needs to interact with the believing world, because they have a different way of looking at life. And it's
right. I mean, this is a pretty extreme example.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it doesn't take much to get human beings. It takes a lot, but you can get human beings on board with some pretty extreme shit. And once you do, like, crazy stuff can ensue.
Here's one thing I would say, because there's a lot of lunatics in this country.
Sure.
Right? And our religious tradition in this country has spun off a lot of, crackpot groups.
Yeah.
And I would say if the trend line continues and America continues toward, a more non-believing, non-church going, less religious, more secular nation, right? I would think that these groups would start to feel more and more alienated and isolated.
Yeah.
And so it is actually an interesting point to think about, because it would be easy for a lot of these groups to get a little bit radical, and to collect up some guns and whatnot. And, who's to say if there will be other instances like this?
Right.
But it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be some cult somewhere that's going to have another standoff.
Yeah.
In fact, there's probably some that should be having that standoff right now, but the government's so unwilling to go down that road.
They won't play.
No.
Yeah,
don't know.
I wonder about that. You know, anyway, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But we just thought we'd take this 25th
Take you down this little rabbit hole.
25th anniversary, 25 years ago. That happened.
Yeah.
We're almost due for another one.
Yeah, I was 3 years old?
Yeah, such a baby. Such a baby.
I really don't remember it.
You don't? No, of course not.
Of course
you were too child. Yeah, we were both in high school.
No, I do remember it.
Yeah,
I remember it.
Yep.
I remember being on CNN. I was something of a CNN junkie back then, believe it or not. And
yeah, there you go.
News junkie is what I was.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation, we'd love to hear from you.
Of course.
Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click that like button.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group that keeps the conversation moderated and civil.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. Go check it out.
Keeps the bad guys out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anyway, hey, speaking of Facebook, thanks so much to Mackenzie for all of her work on the Facebook page. And thanks so much to Sarah, Danny, and Amy for their work moderating the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston for the use of their music.
And thank you guys, all of y'all, for tuning in.
Bye-bye.